on to this. How do you guys feel? This is another, it involves parents. 31 elementary schools, it's a school district in Florida, have said, no, we're not going to do homework anymore. We're opting out of the homework thing, and we are now mandating that parents sit down with the kiddos and read every single night for 20 minutes. So sit on that for a second. They said all of this comes because a new study came out that says children have more positive effects when reading and getting read to than doing homework every night. Because I guess it could be considered busy work for a lot of people. Growing up, for me, homework was, one of those things you come home and I would stress about it because it was like, oh, it was a matter of getting everything done. Sometimes you do feel like it is busy work, but it also stimulates the mind. I don't know how I feel about this. This means you are putting the pure responsibility on parents to sit down every night, find the time to do this with their kids. They should have, I mean, you should as a parent, this is part of your responsibility too, right? I mean, I'm not a parent, but my parents, they were so involved in my education that's been my only experience. But for the kids who have parents who work maybe different shifts and they can't sit down with the kids and read, it's just at the elementary level.
My thing is, and I do believe in a certain amount of homework. I don't believe in the amount of homework where you go to school for your 6 hours, then come home and do 3 more hours of homework. I think that just becomes too much for kids.
Right.
But I will say this, there's a level of accountability that a teacher can also see when a student brings back that homework at the end of the day and starts the new day. If they have completed their spelling list, if they have completing the assignment of math or whatever it is, even if the parents helped them, you know that the student had access to that information outside of school, came back, turned in that homework, and that it was being taught outside of the schoolroom. And if you're only reading, there's no real accountability except for kind of the trust method, because parents get busy and they can say, oh, just tell your teacher you read. Yes, I'll sign it. You know, but with a physical homework sheet, I think there is a level of accountability that maybe would serve a good purpose for kids. But again, the really long homework hours, I don't find the need for that extent.
I mean, and it's all about preparation, right? I mean,
and I'm kind of split on it. I mean, I see in some ways the benefit of homework, especially when you get to high school. You have to do your algebra and your trig to get it ingrained in your brain to know how to do it. You have to study. But in elementary school, I find a lot of times kids are bringing homework where it's just writing the words over and over again and writing this repetitive stuff and not sometimes not necessarily. It doesn't seem like they're learning. It just seems like it's just practice and busy work, not across the board, but sometimes that's what it seems like. And if you have children, every kid doesn't learn the same, but reading does stimulate every brain and every mind. If you have a creative child, them doing their times tables, yes, you need to know it, but that doesn't hit home the way it would for a kid who has a math and science brain. So I can see, right side brain, I can see both sides, and I can see how it hurt. It would, I think it may not hurt, but it won't be as beneficial. But I'm not opposed to it. If they said high school, I'd be like, no, take that off the table. You need to get into the habit of doing your work in middle school.
I think it's a habitual thing. I think habit is very important. And when kids know when they come home for school, it's not free for all time for the iPads, the iPhones, for television. No, it's time to finish your work day, because that's only going to prepare you for later in life.
I want to share 2 very different comments, and you guys are chiming in, so keep doing it. First, Carlos Reyna says, not sure about ditching homework, but I like the idea about the parents spending time with their child. That quality time has disappeared. It's time to bring it back. So that's a great comment. David Wong says, I think kids are missing out by not having to do homework, as in later in life they're going to have to do things on their own, realistically, that no one can take a test for you. So that's very true. And Janet Piper, what a great idea. Homework was getting out of control. Parents would have to take a lot more time to help their kids. So a lot of really good points. If you are someone who currently has a kid in elementary school, what does the scope of their homework look like? I mean, are they coming home and expecting to do hours worth? Do you have time to go over it with your kids? Would your kids read if you gave them a book?
Right. Well, I want to point out what Leonardo Rios said, and thank you for chiming in. He says it's great that the school system, and again, if you are just chiming in, this is 31 elementary schools at a Florida school district are saying no to homework, opting out of that and saying kids need to read, whether it be read to or read for 20 minutes. And he says it's great that the school system is changing for a positive outcome. My wife is from Finland, and they do have that system. Actually, it was recognized as one of the top school systems in the world. So no homework, reading option, it's been done, it sounds like, in other parts of the country. And sometimes that's the case in the United States. We adopt things at a later time. And if we look at the results of other countries, we can go, okay, if it worked for them, it might work for us. But then we also have to realize we are a different type of society here, right? And our experiences here in the States may be a little different. So I'm interested to know for these schools. Here's one thing: the teachers will have the authority to assign occasional take-home homework for projects and research papers. This is, again, all according to the school district in Florida. So there is that option still. It's not like no homework across the board for all of the days in school. I'm interested. If this was my kid's school, I'd say, okay, let's try it. Let's see if I feel like your mind is still being stimulated. That means now all of the accountability, or most of it, is up to the teachers. It is the teacher's responsibility in that classroom to make sure that every minute in the classroom is being spent learning, and that work is being done in the classroom, and not just like, okay, we're going to do that for homework. Get it done in those hours.
Right. So yeah, let us know if you have a school right now that your kids attend that is kind of saying less homework, more reading, or if you agree or disagree. I think it's an interesting topic. Allison, one more time, says parents shouldn't rely on schools to teach our children. It's a mutual responsibility. But what's going on in California as opposed to Florida?
And on top of this, remember back in the day, and I don't know, maybe this was just Michigan. I went to school in Flint, Michigan. We would have like these big book fairs where you would get this big order sheet and it had every book on there. You would go buy your books, and that was like a school initiative, like a reading thing, where it was like, okay, you have your homework, you have your classwork, but you have to finish one book in it like per month or per week, and you had like a little chart to say, I read X amount of books and I did X amount of things. I find now we don't really have that. I was excited to get my $10 for my book club, my little book checklist or pamphlet thing, so I can buy all the books that I wanted and go home and read them. So maybe on top of not having homework, there's more of a push and more of an initiative to make sure kids are being nurtured in different ways. Because let's say there's no homework, and let's say you have to read. Some kids go home, they won't read. 20 minutes ain't that much.
It's so easy not to.
Mom will be like, well, just turn on the TV or whatever. But again, kids learn differently. So let's say for the kid who does need homework and is not getting homework, what are we going to do, and what's going to be put in place to make sure that they're getting extras? Because I'm finding people aren't paying attention to the child's need. Every kid don't need the same thing.
That's true. And I think when it comes to reading too, some kids can say that they read, but did they really comprehend everything they read? Did they know all the words? And I mean, unless the parent is sitting down with that child and making sure that they understand it sentence by sentence, the kid could potentially say, yeah, I read it. You know, and maybe didn't understand it. So you just got to, as a parent, you know what's best for your own kid.
And I'm wondering, with all of this additional reading, are there going to be now these book club circles? Like, how are they going to take what they are learning in a book and applying it to either real life situations or things to help stimulate their mind? Because you can read a story all day long, but what does that mean to you? What is the bigger lesson here? Every book has some sort of lesson or takeaway.
Well, maybe they do. They all read the same book, come back to the classroom and have a discussion about it or something. That could be
And Producer Billy, he has kids who are at the elementary school level. Is that right, Producer Billy? First grade, first in preschool. Okay, and you're saying that those book clubs that Cornelia was referring to, called, or book fairs, Scholastic.
I love those things.
Scholastic book fairs, and they have them every quarter, so they still exist. It costs him a pile.
Well, it used to, listen, you could get $5 back in the day and get 72 books. It was so cheap. Like, you could leave with so much.
$60 for 25 books.
Wow.
What's it like in your neck of the woods? Do you have this what's it called? Scholastic.
Hey, and you know what? At stores like Marshalls, Ross,
Goosebumps.
TJ Maxx. Oh, I love those. They do sell kids' books at all of those discount stores. So
True. Oh, a lot
it's a
of
great
books.
place to go if you're going to like a baby shower or something. You need some like first books or whatever. And of course, the library is free too, and that's a fun place. Rob Carlmark takes his daughter there a lot, and she loves that experience of going to the library, picking something out,
staying quiet.
Yeah, and they have little group sessions too at the library for kids, and so there are a lot of ways to do this without paying the money if you can't.
Yeah.
But certainly an interesting concept.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what you all think.
Books are back. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Not that they ever went anywhere, but I feel like for a long time it was more about TV shows.